Welcome to Women Winning Divorce. I am your host, Heather Quick. I am an attorney, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Florida Women's Law Group, the only divorce firm for women by women. I love thinking big, thinking outside the box, creating creative solutions for women, and empowering women to win in all aspects of their life. Our approach at Florida Women's Law Group is to provide women with a strategy to not only achieve their objectives, but win at life. I believe that what may show up as adversity is simply an opportunity to change and improve your life. In each episode, I sit down with innovative professionals and leaders who are focused on how you can be your best self before, during, and after divorce. In these conversations, we are looking at how women can win at life. I have the unique opportunity to meet women when they are at a transition period of life. But that is only the beginning to becoming your best self and winning at life on your terms. With our guests, we enjoy the opportunity to explore ways all women can win and enhance their life, no matter where they are in their journey. Because divorce is just a point in life, not the end and not what defines you, rather a catalyst for your growth. Welcome to today's episode of Women Winning Divorce. I'm Heather Quick, owner and attorney at Florida Women's Law Group. Today, I'm being joined by Jackie Pilossoph, founder of Divorce Girls Smiling, a media company. Sounds like just the right company to be attached to Women Winning Divorce. Divorce Girls Smiling connects people facing divorce to trusted, vetted divorce professionals, and it is meant to empower and inspire. And under the same title, Jackie hosts a podcast. So Jackie,
thank you so much for having me, Heather.
I am just so looking forward to our conversation and so inspired by all that you have really created and what you're doing out there in the world for divorced individuals. Please tell us a little bit of how you got there. I think that would be fascinating.
Yeah, sure. So the biggest thing I can say about myself is that I got divorced. And so my background is that I'm a journalist. I was a TV reporter. I was a Chicago Tribune features reporter and columnist. And so I got divorced, and what was my go-to? Writing. And so I started Divorce Girl Smiling 10 years ago as a blog. And then I thought, wow, there's really something here. The response was amazing. And the mission of Divorce Girl Smiling is so nobody has to feel isolated, alone, like they have nowhere to go, and a great way to find divorce professionals. So when I was going through a divorce, it was 2007 and 2008. And I don't even know if people Googled yet, but how do you find professionals? And there was no such thing as divorce coaches, and people didn't have CDFAs. So it's really nice that the industry has changed, and I'm trying to bring divorced people to good resources for them.
Well, that's just wonderful and so needed because like you said, there really is not a space. And I think that we've found that with this podcast and talking about divorce, that it's being well received because there's not a lot out there that's really helping. And I mean, we focus on women only, but I think just in general, there's just not a lot of when you're going through it to help you. There's a lot of stuff, maybe after or, working on your marriage, but not so much when you're in it. So let's get right into it though, Jackie. Why don't you give us, I'd love to know your insight on why do women lack self-confidence during and after divorce?
Yes, great question. And I believe that you can be the healthiest, emotionally healthy person with a great upbringing. And like me, I was really emotionally healthy. I had great parents, and I was basically a secure person. And when you're going through a divorce, I feel like your self-esteem gets knocked down, whether you are the healthiest person or not. But I think that you're only that way temporarily. And the reason self-esteem goes down so much is because if you think about it, you have been living with someone. You didn't just get divorced or decide to get divorced. You've been living with somebody maybe for up to a year or 5 years or 10 years. And you've never gotten any nice words from the person because your marriage has been on the rocks. So that's one thing. And secondly, you're feeling like a failure. And, there's all kinds of reasons, but I think people really suffer, even healthy people suffer when it comes to self-esteem and divorce.
I think that is so true. And for all those reasons, because, and especially, the period of time where you're in the bad marriage, that is kind of can be very eroding to your self-esteem and your confidence. And you don't always have anyone to talk to about that. And you're not really always doing that. So I think that compounds itself leading up to the divorce and during, because you're maybe, where women are really focused on making the marriage work. What can I do, or how can we fix it? But not maybe, how can I help myself through this or heal myself a little bit better?
Absolutely. And even women who wanted the divorce suffer from self-esteem. Like, what's wrong with me? What, this, and people will say to people like, well, he wasn't hitting you. Why are you getting divorced? Like crazy things like that. So, nobody knows what's going on and nobody should judge. But even people who want the divorce, their self-esteem suffers too, because then they think they feel guilty and I'm a horrible person. So that all filters into the self-esteem issue.
I think I'm glad you brought that point up, because I think emotionally, even though if you're the one who wants the divorce, it still can hit you harder than you really, I think, maybe anticipated. Once you're in it, because your whole life is broken open and reduced to spreadsheets of numbers, and how are we going to deal with the children? And so it's a lot of depersonalization. I have a feeling most people feel, because we're analyzing things, and you're just, even if you were the one who initiated, wanted it, I have seen very strong, powerful, professional women still really get a little unnerved and, unbalanced for a while, because it's just a big deal. It affects you in so many ways, I think, that many women don't anticipate.
And if you look at even finances alone, how many women get divorced and they have no idea about their finances and they're ashamed of it, and they shouldn't be. But that filters into self-esteem too. They're ashamed because they never paid attention. I had a woman this morning I talked to, and she was like, I feel so stupid. I don't know anything about finance. And I'm like, don't say the word stupid and you in the same sentence. You're not stupid. You just made decisions that you weren't going to be involved in finances, and now you have to be, and you will learn, and you are smart enough to learn this, and you're going to be fine. But self-esteem was really awful because of that.
I agree that, especially the financial, and there's obviously a range. It could be just simply, that's not my duties in the marriage, or it can be the extreme, where there's financial abuse and control. But I think regardless of where that is, I have seen in my practice as well, women are really embarrassed. They're apologizing for that, as if, they were supposed to be perfect and handle everything and know everything. But I think the finances, because it's so scary going through a divorce, what is my financial situation going to be? I think we see that a lot, just like you said, where they say they feel stupid, and they just feel, I think, overwhelmed and extremely afraid for not knowing that.
And I wanted to bring up something that I forgot before when we were talking about if it's the woman's decision to get divorced. A lot of people will say to that woman, well, you wanted this. Why are you so upset? And so what you have to understand is, like, they didn't want it. They felt that they had to do it because that was the best thing for either them and or the kids and everybody. And so when people say that, it just really bugs me.
I know, as if you are supposed to be still so happy and joyful and skipping around just because you want it. But like you said, what was that choice for? Because people don't know what's going on inside, someone's home. And, it can be so many reasons. And usually it takes a lot to get to the point where divorce is the answer. And most people, in my experience, have tried a lot of things and worked really hard to avoid that ultimate divorce.
Definitely.
And do you think like this is an issue for all women, or is there any kind of demographic where we see this decline in self-esteem?
All women, like I said, from the most emotionally healthy person to the person who has the least self-esteem to begin with, and everyone in between. I think your self-esteem really takes a beating during a divorce.
Now, what about, the point in a woman's journey that you see a shift in self-image? Do you think that is more related to marriage or within the divorce?
Okay, so having been someone who experienced this firsthand, so like I said, my self-esteem was in the gutter. I think that divorce at the beginning is extremely painful, and we all know how hard it is and all the different emotions. But peppered within all those emotions are these moments of empowerment, and you say, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I was this strong. I'm going to be fine. And then the next day you're hysterically crying again for something else. But these moments of this empowerment and these moments of self-love when you did something that you never thought you could do, or, or you meet someone, like I remember, dating for me wasn't even like a consideration. I thought I was like a washed up, frumpy housewife who didn't know how to do anything. And then I went to this party and this like really cute young guy like wouldn't leave me alone all night. And we ended up dating for a few months. He was a lot younger than me, but we're still Facebook friends. And but he was the best thing for my self-esteem because he was like, you're gorgeous. And I was like,
Oh,
so I think that self-esteem comes in these moments where you don't expect, either from like an outside source, like that guy. I'm not saying you have to have a guy to validate your self-esteem at all, by the way.
right.
Or it comes within yourself when you say like, wow, I made a really good decision today. I never even thought I was capable. I can do this. And these moments are intertwined in the divorce during all the other pain that you're feeling.
Now, what challenges or fears do you think are really common for women to experience?
During a divorce?
Yes.
How long do you have? No. So women, I'm sure you know this, Heather. Women worry about everything, even when they're not going through a divorce.
Mhm.
So let me list off a few, and people listening are going to be like, yeah, I'm worried about that, check. Okay, so we have finances. Can I stay in the house? Am I going to be alone forever? Am I going to run out of money? Am I going to die alone? Are my kids going to be messed up? Am I going to be able to pay bills myself? Like, I don't even know how to do that. Is my family going to judge me? Am I going to lose friends? I mean, I could just keep going.
Mhm.
And every day it's something different.
Right. And I mean, I feel certain this absolutely is part of what contributes to women feeling unsure when they're going through this, and probably even second guessing, even if they were the one, who initiated this divorce.
Mhm. And if people initiated the divorce, the people who are judging should think to themselves, they have all these issues. So why would they get divorced if they really didn't think it was the best option?
Yeah, but I think too many people like to judge and provide unsolicited advice in comments, unfortunately. And you're so vulnerable when you're going through a divorce to them, right? You know, the people who are going to say something. I think, you're like, oh, yeah, that's the way that person is. But you're just so much more vulnerable and unsure of what's coming, that it probably adds to the feelings of unsure and your self-esteem when you have these people who you'd like to think they mean well, but
There's
okay.
all kinds of surprises in divorce. There's people you thought were going to be there for you who weren't. There's people that you can't even believe because you didn't even know them that well and they were there for you. There's people who you don't really know that well or don't even like really personally, and they weren't there for you. So that's no surprise. And then there's people that you thought would be there for you and they are. So,
Mhm.
you just can't predict anything. And that's part of the stress of getting divorced, part of the many aspects.
The many things. Well, okay, so for those of us divorce attorneys, what can we be doing to help women feel empowered and confident throughout the divorce process?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that, because I think people spend way too much time talking to their divorce attorneys about like, my ex just met someone. I can't believe he's dating someone. So in answer to your question, the best thing you can do is direct them to divorce coaches, therapists, and other resources that are better in that field, and let the divorce attorney do their job, which is to get you a great divorce outcome.
Mm-hmm. I think that's like, they don't know what they don't know. And so they think they've hired this attorney, and then sometimes they do just talk to us about so many things that are not a legal issue, not a legal problem that we can help them with. And it is so important, I think, for us as attorneys to refer them and encourage them to, work with a divorce coach, talk to the therapist, because that is going to be a more productive conversation and better use of their resources.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we are ready for a short break, and we will be right back. In this time, we would love for our listeners who are enjoying this show to please leave us a 5-star review. That'll let us know which episodes have been the most helpful to you and allow others to find our podcast. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. We are back from our break. And again, today I'm joined by Jackie Pilossoph, founder of Divorced Girls Smiling. And we're discussing self-confidence in divorce, how to get it back, why women lose self-esteem during divorce. And, I wanted to follow up because we were last before the break just talking about what attorneys can do maybe to help their clients a little bit more during the process. But I also would love for you to share with us, how can women practice self-compassion or self-care, like in order to get their self-confidence back while they're going through this?
Well, I think self-care and self-confidence are two different things, but I will say the more self-care you have, the better emotionally you are, and that can feed into increasing your self-esteem. But self-care is probably one of those things that doesn't even enter in the mind of someone getting divorced. They don't even realize that. They think self-care means, don't miss your doctor's appointment, your yearly physical. And self-care is so much more. Self-care is going to therapy. Self-care might mean going on medication for anxiety if that's what you feel you need. It's going to yoga. It's doing stuff that you love. It's taking a trip with your girlfriends, even though you are. And the reason I'm saying that example is that exact thing happened to me. I had a birthday trip with my high school friends planned, and I ended up calling them and saying, oh, I can't go because I'm getting divorced. And my friend calls me and goes, wait, what does that have to do with anything? That's why you need to go. So I went to Vegas with my friends, like the weekend after my ex-husband moved out. Like, it was crazy. But that is self-care. Self-care has so many meanings, but the biggest meaning is it's something that keeps you happy and healthy. And you need that so that you have fuel to do all this other stuff, like take care of your kids, deal with the emotions involved in the divorce, deal with the legal process, deal with your ex. And so really self-care is extremely important during a divorce.
I so appreciate those examples because it can mean a lot of things and not what everybody always thinks it means. And it's so important to take care of yourself during this, transitionary period, because all of these stressors are going to wear on you. So you're going to need that extra, strength and mental stability to get through this. But I'd love to dive into now what some of the outcomes of low confidence, and what do you see as some of those outcomes?
Oh, so having personally experienced some of them, bad self-esteem looks like this. You start dating someone and they treat you like crap, and you just put up with it because you think that's all you deserve, because you have no self-esteem. So check, did it. Another example of what bad self-esteem can do is it can cause you to make poor choices in the divorce. Like, I'll settle for this. I'll let him have the house because I feel guilty that I wanted the divorce. Don't feel like you're not worthy, because if you do, you're going to make these bad decisions. what else can happen? You're not like a happy person. You look in the mirror when you have self-esteem and you go, like, ooh, I don't like my wrinkles, or, oh, my arm is fat, and that's just like not good. And I mean, I do it. So I actually have really good self-esteem, but I'm old now. But you know, nitpicking about yourself is a terrible thing. And I do it, I'm guilty of it, but I also catch myself and say, but you know what? I'm healthy. And
Mhm.
isn't that the most important thing? And I know people listening are probably like, yeah, and they might be rolling their eyes, but honestly, if you have your health, you can do anything you want. And I am somebody, I had cancer. So I'm not saying like, I'm the only person who ever had any problems, but it was really scary. And so, like, just try to focus on your health instead of, I want a better body.
Mhm.
Like, love your body and say it's healthy and I'm going to feed it healthy food and I'm going to nourish myself and I'm going to go for a walk so I get my circulation moving and my emotional outlook will be better. Like, there's so many reasons to work out that have nothing to do with looks. And then losing weight and having a better body is the byproduct of just taking care of yourself. So I'm not a health coach, by the way.
But it feeds into that. I'm a big believer in exercise and working out and, producing those endorphins, and it does change the way you feel, I believe
And
completely, and it's
and
going to help you.
and I'll say this too, like, as somebody who was always like sort of struggling with weight my whole life, I can say this: when you eat healthy, even for like 1 or 2 days, your self-esteem goes up and you already feel so much thinner, even though you might not be. And so it
Mhm.
just makes you happier. And so if you just do that, it's gonna help your self-esteem. Just like I love myself enough where I'm eating really good food and I'm working my body, stretching, anything.
Absolutely, absolutely, because it does. It all has an impact. Now, okay, you talked about a bit on dating ineffectively, but I really think that, a lot of time people, can jump back into a relationship. And statistically, men do that much faster than women do after divorce. But either way, often, women can jump back into a relationship before they're fully healed from their last relationship. And I would say that, I mean, what do you think? How it probably isn't going to do that or serve them that well dating if they're not ready.
Well, again, I'm not a therapist, but I can tell you what my motto is. Date whoever you want. Nobody should judge if you date the next day after your spouse moves out. Nobody should judge. You might have been lonely for 5 years and now you're ready to date, but just don't get married. That is my advice. Do whatever you want, just don't get married. And don't introduce the person to your kids. Like, I know you're really
Right.
excited and you think like you just met the man of your dreams, but you don't even know anybody for 2 years. That's my opinion. So just wait. I don't understand why people rush to get remarried because that's the only thing that can really hurt. Everything
Mhm.
else, I really give people cut them a lot of slack because people are lonely. I mean, people on my website will email me questions about dating and they've literally been separated for a week. So
Mhm.
it's our nature to want to be with someone. Nobody wants to be alone, so I actually think it's okay. Just do not get married. Not ever, but for at least a few years.
Yeah, and I think that brings up that's a really good point because and I know I've talked to many women over the years, and there's something about, especially when you're in a relationship but you're very lonely, right? You're not alone, but then
Mhm.
the fact that they're there but not engaging can just be such a feeling of loneliness. And so I can see why they might be like, okay, he's moved out, we filed for divorce, I'm ready to date.
Or how about this? They were lonely when they were married and then they got divorced. The ex moves out and they're still alone. They're not even dating anyone. And these women say, I'm so much happier. I don't care if I'm alone because it's better to be alone than with the wrong person, where you're walking on eggshells, or you're fighting, or you just feel like you're leading two separate lives, but they're still in the house. That's a terrible way to live.
I agree with you 100%. Like you can feel more peaceful and happy to be alone than in that kind of relationship. Okay, we talked about the therapist and, helping them guide through emotions. Because you interact with so many people, right? On your, through your site and everything that you offer. What do you think? How many people do you think they're really seeking therapy and going through therapy when they're going through a divorce?
Okay, here's my theory on it. I think everybody going through a divorce should be required by law to see therapists, but they're not. I think the reason why they don't go to therapy here's two reasons. One, they're worried about money because a lot of them don't take insurance.
Right.
And finding the right one is very hard. And you want to go to this amazing person, but they don't take insurance, and they're so worried about money, so they don't go. And the second reason is divorce is really overwhelming. So you're working with a divorce attorney, possibly a mediator, and so when you throw in like another person, it seems overwhelming. So they're like, I don't need it. And then they make the mistake of calling their attorney and crying when they should be either having a divorce coach or a therapist or both. Really, I'm going to tell people, you're spending all this money on your divorce attorney. Take a couple $1,000s more and spend it on therapy and divorce coaching. It's so worth it. And it will probably save you money, because these divorce coaches really know what they're doing. At least the ones I know who are on my site.
Right.
And they know what they're doing, and they will help you make better decisions so that your divorce outcome will be better, and you'll save so much. You could be saving so much money.
Oh, I agree. And I'm glad that you said that, because I like both, but I'm a big proponent of coaching. I've used that throughout my career, and because it helps you move forward. And that's really what I see, and you probably do too, a lot in the divorce. There's so much happening, but then you're like, oh, I don't want to keep going forward. Like I have so many decisions to make and so much in front of me that sometimes they fall back a little. And the divorce coach can be so much more effective. And I've had clients and oh, Heather, but I just love talking to you. And I'm like, well, I'm an expensive friend. And I say that to the ones that I like, they were really close, but I'm like, no, this is not the best use of your money. But when it's attorney time, it's attorney time, right? And
well, I could see that. I could see people wanting to talk to you, and that's really lovely and everything, but it's not your field. And
all, right.
And you're like a friend. Exactly. And these divorce coaches, these are really big decisions you're making. And these divorce coaches are going to help you through uncharted territory. And they're going to be right by your side. And then when Heather tells you what she thinks and what, do you want to do this? You're better equipped to make the decision. So you have a lot going on too, Heather. Your part in the divorce is huge, but you can get them a better outcome if they're in a better emotional place to make better decisions.
I absolutely agree. And because as their lawyer and as lawyers, what we should be doing is, all these questions, we're thinking, okay, well, what do we need to do legally? Like what works in your advantage the best? And sometimes that's not the therapeutic answer that they're really seeking. And so that is why it is so important. I'm glad you said that, because they think that's enough. And, we're not. I am not a mental health counselor. I've been doing the divorce law for a lot of years. So I've heard a lot of stories, but I still am not, and neither are any of the other lawyers out there. Like we're not the best person to talk about those emotionally charged issues, like he's dating or what he's doing. And, sometimes I do think people think, well, that's going to affect the kids. And so but their first instinct is to call their lawyer. And it's usually not, necessary, right? There's something they could talk through with a coach or therapist.
They're angry. So their first gut reaction is, I'm going to call my lawyer and he's going to have to pay more. And I want that house now. And, and I understand, I'm not judging anybody because I was there. I did that. And so it could have been so much better. Divorce coaches didn't even exist when I was getting divorced, I don't think.
No, they're like really much more recent.
Mhm. And what they can do is calm you down and give you options. And then when you talk to your divorce lawyer the next time or Monday morning, your conversation will be like 6 minutes instead of 36 minutes.
Exactly, which is better. And they've helped you work through the emotions, and so that your decisions are still based on a sound reasoning to help you achieve your overall goals and objectives, and not just a rash decision like, let's go do XYZ. Because, as attorneys, okay, we'll file that motion, we'll set that deposition, and then you put something in motion, then a couple of days later you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, why did this cost so much? So I think, a lot of times that happens because attorneys are like, yeah, that's what we do, we go to court, let's go do it. And then you end up kind of regretting that and thinking, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Well, I once went to court to get $2,000 from my ex, and it cost me 10 to get the two. So that's when I said, okay, this is not a good way to go about. I shouldn't have done this.
And nobody likes to learn the lessons the expensive way, but sometimes we do the hard way, expensive way. Sometimes those lessons happen like that. But you're right. That's why you can have the foresight to tell somebody, well, maybe there's a better way. There is a better way to do this. But we're going to take another break very quickly. We will be right back. And listeners, this is the favorite part of your week. We ask that you subscribe so that you will always be up to date on our episodes. And please leave us a 5-star review so other listeners can find us. We'll be right back. So we're back from our last break. And again, today I'm joined by Jackie Pilossoph. In this last segment, we're going to be talking a little bit more on practical tips on getting your self-confidence back, because we've talked about different ways your self-esteem and self-confidence takes a hit during divorce and why. And so now let's focus on, all right, even if you're not totally over the divorce, but as you get done with the divorce, how can women begin to get their self-confidence back? What are some practical tips, Jackie?
All right. So I wrote this article called 15 Self-Confidence Boosters, and it's a combination. The 15 is a combination of superficial things and then really meaningful things. So if I throw in some superficial, don't think less of me. Okay. And like, in other words, numbers 2 and 3 are shoes and purses. So I think that women, like, I know for myself, when I have a new pair of shoes on or a new purse, I feel like $1 million. I just feel like the outfit doesn't have to be so great, but if you have the greatest pair of shoes or a really cute purse or both, it just makes you feel good. So I'm not saying that's going to solve your life problems, but it's one thing I think helps a lot. And you don't have to worry about if it fits or how do I look. It's going to look fabulous.
I completely agree. Well, you don't know me, Jackie, very well, but like, that is basically my motto. And I have a lot of purses and shoes, and I love them. I love all, because they're pretty, but then I feel better. And I agree with you, because all of us have, well, most of us, not everybody, but when your weight fluctuates, it's like, what, I don't feel like getting a new outfit, but boy, a new pair of shoes can do just as much. So I think that goes a long way.
Or I don't want to wear this dress for the 15th time, but if I had a new pair of shoes with it, now it's a great dress and it looks different.
Yes. Agreed. So what are some of the other 15?
All right. So this one is sort of a superficial, but maybe not. So I wrote clothes that fit well. And I think that people try to squeeze into the size 8 and they just feel bad. So go out and buy the frickin' size 12 or whatever and be okay with it. And if you're comfortable and you feel good and it looks nice, you will feel so much better. And I always remember that movie, Eat, Pray, Love, when she was eating all the pizza in Italy. And then she's like, you know what? My jeans don't even fit anymore. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go buy a bigger size. So, yeah. And there was also this woman in my neighborhood growing up. And I remember she goes, just smile and buy a bigger size. I love that woman. So, so that's another one, but that's enough of the superficial. So
Mhm.
I can get into some other ones that are
Yeah.
not so much. All right. So one thing that if you have bad self-esteem and you want to feel better, start giving back. And what I mean by that is it can be a financial donation, 20 bucks. It can be visiting someone in the hospital, visiting an elderly person, helping somebody do their resume to get a job, offering to babysit for a young mom, anything that makes you feel like you are giving back to the world, you will feel like $1,000,000. Write a really nice note to someone, reach out to somebody on Facebook who you know is suffering in some way and just say, hey, I'm just thinking about you. Let's get together for coffee. So when you give back, that's an instant self-esteem booster.
Mhm.
And look what you're doing for, so the people are benefiting, but you're benefiting just as much, if not more.
That's a great tip. I think so. And, sometimes it's helpful to, I think when you are able to help someone else, it allows you to step outside of, your currently own problems, the things that are getting you down, and focusing on someone else and what you have to offer, is definitely going to change your mood and feel better. That's a great tip. I
Mhm.
really like that one.
Next one is work. So I believe, as someone who was a stay-at-home mom, nothing against stay-at-home moms, but I have never had less self-esteem in my life. But I'm a real career person. So
Okay.
stay-at-home mom was not a good fit for me. And then when I got divorced, I kicked and screamed and went back to work and I got a job. And it was the best thing I ever did financially, but also for my self-esteem. I was getting dressed every day, putting on makeup. So that was one thing. I
Hmm.
was making all these new connections, friends, professionals, meeting people. It was great. And I felt so good about the work I was doing. It felt almost philanthropic. I worked in the senior care industry and it was like life changing for me. Um, and wait, I want to tell your listeners, wait till you start working and you get like promoted or you get a raise. Then it's like, whoa, it best for your self-esteem.
Now let's dig into this because I agree with you 100%, um, on everything that you said. But so to the person that says, well, what about my kids?
I'm
Hmm.
not having a nanny. I see them at the parks. They're on their phones all the time. I don't want that to be my kid. He's going to run in front of a car and that's going to be the end.
Right.
That is not true.
Good.
And if I could take it back and do it over, I would. Your kids are going to appreciate you so much more if you go back to work. And the time that you spend with your kids is going to be so much better
Mhm.
with both of you. They're going to love you more. You're going to love them more. You're going to want to be around them all the time. You're going to be such a better parent. And you're going to just look forward to seeing your kids instead of like, oh, is it bedtime yet? Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's reality. And it's
Yeah.
nothing against stay-at-home moms because I give them all the credit in the world because I didn't like it. I wasn't a
Mhm.
good stay-at-home mom. And it's hard. It's not going to be easy, but it takes literally a week to get used to it and you're going to love it. That's what I
I think
think.
that's great. And I love your perspective because you were there. So you're not somebody, you know, um, who hasn't been on both sides. And that advice I think is invaluable. And I hope our listeners really hear that and recognize that how that is that important and you
I'll
can do
go
it.
so far as to say, if your divorce is causing you to have to go back to work and you're upset about it, think of it this way. God's looking out for you. It's the best thing that could happen to you.
Hmm. I agree. I agree. And it'll be challenging figuring it all out. But like you said, once you do, because women always figure out how to do everything, it'll work out.
Right. And
All
if you
right.
have to change jobs to be happy, then do it. Like this also applies. Bad self-esteem, if you're somebody who's going to your job every day and you just hate it and you're just sick of it, then you know what? I'm not saying quit, but explore other opportunities. I mean, you
Hmm.
only get one life. If
Yeah.
doing something, is something that you want to do, some other field. You owe it to yourself to try it, to try to get it.
I agree. And divorce sometimes is a great opportunity because so much is changing, and that's a great time to often explore a different opportunity.
For sure.
All right. So I know there's more because these are good.
All right. Well, this one might seem superficial, but I don't care because it works.
Okay.
Start wearing lipstick. So I wrote this article several years ago for the Chicago Tribune, and it was called The Lipstick Experiment. And what I did is for a week, 1 week, I decided, because I don't really wear lipstick unless like I have a meeting or something. I'm not like or I'm going out, but I never wear it during the day. I decided to wear it all the time. And so for a week, I was wearing lipstick, and I wrote about all the different things that happened to me. Like I saw a guy take a double take at me in Starbucks. I'm not kidding. I'm not even trying to be conceited. It really happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Someone I ran into was like, "Oh my God, did you get your hair cut? You look great." Like I got comments like that all week. A guy pulled up next to me in a car and was hitting on me. I'm not kidding. And at the time, I was like 45 years old. Okay. What else happened to me? Like just the biggest thing about wearing lipstick is that you feel so pretty. That's important in self-esteem.
It is. I love that. I think that, and it really is so easy. Now, were you wearing red? I just have to ask. Was it red? It was red.
It had to be like it was like a pinky red. Yeah.
Okay.
See what
it does change everything when you put on the lipstick. Yeah. Agreed. All right.
Okay. Another big thing in self-esteem is knowledge. And in today's day and age, we don't have newspapers anymore, really. But we have online news. So I know you feel like your divorce is the center of your universe, and I understand that. But you need to know what's going on in the world, and you need to read stuff. There's a site called Skim. You can get emails. They tell you the news. Just take a little time every day to know what's going on, and read magazines and read books. It's an escape, and it will just make you a more interesting person. And because you feel like you're more interesting and you know stuff, your self-esteem will go up.
I think that's, I love that too. And it's true, because then you may just engage in a conversation on a topic because now you've read something or that you found interesting, and just, again, that'll help your self-esteem, just a different quality or different type of conversations than maybe you would have otherwise.
Right. Like I always tell single moms, when you go on a date, don't talk about your kids the whole time. I know you love them and they're awesome, but your date doesn't care yet. He will later if he likes you, but he's there for you. And you can't be like, "Oh, I'm a mom," and that's it. You have to have more. You were somebody before you had kids. So where is that person? Bring that person out. We want to see them.
It's so true. And I don't know how old your kids are. How old are your kids now, Jackie?
College age.
Okay. So I've got one in college and then the teenagers, and it's true. We have a great relationship that I work and have a business and a career, and it's different than the others. And we have great things to talk about. And I think it's just everything that you said, all of these things as far as working and then reading, and then you can just have great conversations.
You just brought up such a good point, because your kids are watching you. And if they watch their strong mother go back to work and, kick butt in a career and reading and doing all the right things, they're going to have so much respect for you, and they're going to grow up with those same ideals and ambitions and be much stronger.
I do. I believe that very strongly. And it also, through the divorce, obviously your husband is going to have to do stuff he didn't do before. And it's going to be different, but that's good for your kids, because they need to see, I think, as much for your daughters to see that men should cook, do laundry, do these things for you and help you with your homework, as for the boys to see that that is what we do. And, for both sides to see parents that work and contribute, and then can still take care of you. And then sometimes, our kids have to do some stuff for themselves, because otherwise they're going to grow, leave house and not know how to do anything.
Mhm.
And I hear that from my daughter. They don't even know how to do laundry, and they don't know how to do this. They don't know who to do that. And it's like, and now that's been really a disservice to your child, because they want to be able to do those things. And then they're proud that, oh, I know how to do this. So I think it's good.
So much more self-sufficient when the parent works.
Yes. And, it's funny. I think your kids, they're going to complain about what we do, whatever, but I think the respect is really, there is a lot of respect there for the working. And, I think one of those things when you're talking about being a great mom, that allows you, it gives you really a great opportunity to show them a different side of you, like you were talking about, that side, who you were before you had kids, and that you really are a person. You're not just mom. Like,
And the entire time I've been working, I have never heard from my kids like, Mom, you're never around. Never. So just so your listeners know, if that's your fear, that is not going to happen, because when you are around, you're going to really be around.
Yes, exactly. And you're going to be able to focus your attention on them. And it's going to be really good quality as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been a great conversation, Jackie. But before we go, I ask all of my guests this question. So I'm going to ask you if you can impart on our listeners what you've learned about, empowering women throughout their divorce and through your career. Like, what can you share with them?
Something I've learned.
Or what you want them to know, like, hey, how can they, what's the best way they can empower and advocate for themselves?
Oh, there's a lot of things, but I would say have a lot of meetings and educate yourself with many people. All these people offer free consults. Call a divorce coach and just have a meeting to see if it's right for you, and ask, what do you do? What am I going to get out of this? Call a financial advisor and say, can you please help me? I need like a plan. How does this work? If you don't know, believe me, they've heard it before. Call a mortgage lender and say, am I going to be able to keep my house? Because when you're empowered and you have all that information, you can make such better decisions. A mortgage lender is one of the first people you should call if you're thinking about getting divorced, even maybe before a lawyer, to see how much of a mortgage, or if you could get a mortgage to keep your house. Nobody knows that. People don't know that.
Right. And, they do. I think that's really a great advice, because then they can also tell you that, like, well, you need to, if you're not working, you're going to need alimony, and they're only going to count it if you get this many years or whatever. Practical advice on how much.
Absolutely. They give you right down to the penny.
Yeah.
And then you can make a decision. And then you might say, well, if I keep the house, I'm not going to have any money for anything else. It's too much. So maybe then your decision is just going to be, I need to move, And so anyway, my point is, empower yourself by talking to professionals. And that is the whole hallmark of Divorce Girls Smiling. I want to connect you with the best people, but I want to give like a little personal advice also, which is believe in yourself, because these women have no idea how strong and capable and wonderful and beautiful they are. They just don't. They used to, and then divorce happened. And so just believe in yourself, have faith in yourself. And you're a very capable, good person, a great mother, and you can do this.
Well, that's great, Jackie. That is so inspiring, and I really appreciate it. And I know our listeners do as well. We've reached the end of our show. Thank you so much to my guest this week, Jackie Pilossoph. You can find her at divorcegirlsmiling.com, and her information will all be linked below in the show notes. And just really enjoyed our conversation, Jackie. Thank you again so much.
Thanks so much, Heather. I enjoyed being here.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Women Winning Divorce. My goal is to elevate your life and the way you are thinking so that you are best equipped to win at life. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe so you automatically get my new shows every week. And I would love to hear from you personally. Come join the conversation on social and join our Facebook group, Women Winning Divorce. We welcome your comments and suggestions. We want to bring you content that helps move your life forward. Women Winning Divorce is the place for an elevated conversation on how women can thrive during times of adversity in order to live their best life.